Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Grind. We are here for what episode are we on now?
This is gonna be the 10th, hitting the double digits finally.
Jeez
After
Louise.
2 years or something.
Well, dang, you can now get out a Silver Moon or whatever it is in WoW. I don't even know
True
what the
that.
situation. Yeah, I guess you're out of the starting zone, and so are we. And so I'm the Sean Kopp here with my co-host Myles Eschanik,
Hello.
also known as McSeagle, Flocka Miles, many
Eudora,
aliases
for
it
some
seems
reason.
like. Eudora, yeah. So we're here to talk about some video games, and
So what have you been playing? What's on the docket?
well, we've
What's
had a
been on
couple
the docket?
releases. I feel like since the last episode, we've had Splatoon 2 dropped, and
Let's dive into that one first for a minute and see
Okay.
what your thoughts are on that one versus the first one.
in many ways it is the first one. There's very little that's changed. It does feel good to have Splatoon back on a portable device. Internet connectivity again feels kind of weird and janky, but it is functioning, so that's something.
Yeah, I actually ended up getting an adapter that goes over USB to try and eliminate Wi-Fi as the potential cause, and I haven't had too many issues since that, but I know when I started in on that game, I was having a few disconnects, and then it had this weird passive-aggressive thing where it's like, you disconnected from your last game, and if this suspect behavior continues, we're going to have to look into that. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, Nintendo can just go eat one. I feel like they really need to iron out some of these things before, I guess, Monster Hunter, the next Monster Hunter drops, before these like big online pieces fall into place for them. I feel like in some ways they're just accepting of the status quo that, Nintendo is, not the best when it comes to online connectivity, and they don't need to be. But at a certain point, they're going to need to catch up.
There seems to be like a certain level of complacency kind of like Nintendo-wide, and it's pretty disappointing, but I don't know what it'll take for them to sort of up their game a little bit. I know we had talked about the Switch being a successful launch and everything, but there are certain like quality of life things that just seem like a little unforgivable in this day and age. One of them being the fact that you can't really party up with your friends in Splatoon. It's like you can get in the same lobby as them, but only after sitting out a game, waiting for their game and a new lobby to open up for you, and that doesn't guarantee you're going to be on their team. And it's odd to me, and so
It does. I mean, and we have Splatoon 2 as a first-party game. It is a Nintendo licensed game. It's a lot of fun. I wish there was a little bit more significant progression in the game. I wish that there was like maybe a skill tree that you could get into. I think that would be super cool. But so one of the things that I wanted to talk about specifically about this game and that network connectivity and how online play feels a little janky if you're playing with friends. The Switch's UI is slick and really nice. It feels very satisfactory operating it, switching between games, going to the eShop. And then we have this game that the UI feels okay, but then the UI when it comes to online play, where this game would see any longevity, feels really bad. Like, it feels like this Phantasy Star Online kind of like you need to walk into, from the main lobby, you need to walk into this specific room to then be beamed up a la Star Trek to the multiplayer arena.
Yeah.
There's very little like kind of seamlessness to it all.
I think the problem too that I have had with games in recent years is the fact that you can't adjust your loadout without fully backing out of matchmaking or anything else, and that hitch in the gameplay and the flow is always kind of like, well, I'm not really digging this weapon or this particular like lobby of players, but also I don't want to back out because that's just kind of a minor inconvenience. So I don't know, it's just weird. And like you're saying, in terms of like physically navigating your character to these places, there's a quick like menu you can go to drop yourself into the lobby, which you can go into unranked, casual play, whatever. And then there's going into the shops to get the items. And the problem with going into the shops is that you always have to go through some little like dialogue every single time you go into one of the shops, and every
just so
single
they can spice it up with flavor.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, like, when you very first boot up the game, if you come in like on a cold like launch boot up from if you're swapping between games and you come back into Splatoon, you're gonna have to go through this little intro where they tell you which maps are in play or rotation, and there's like the quirky little comments that the two little newscasters make, and that's fine and dandy, but there should just be an option to skip all that, because
yes,
it's so lame.
Just do away with all the faff. The gameplay itself is rock solid. It's a lot of fun. You are a squid kid that you get your choice of a weapon that you then splat around this multiplayer map. Or there's also a single player where you're doing some sort of similar thing. I have no interest in the single player, but your splat also does damage to the enemies. So you are actually shooting the map, trying to cover it with your color ink. And then when you run out of ink, you also have another form where you can press a button, hold it down, and you turn into a squid, and then you can swim through areas that you've covered in your ink, and also at the same time recharge your ink meter, so when you come out into your kid form, very seamlessly, you can start shooting again. That core gameplay is really so good. It feels fresh and innovative, just like it did. Like, there's nothing like this game on the market right now.
No, I'd agree with that 100%.
And even though the game might not be a stellar game for long-term progression, enthusiasm, it's a great game in the same way that Team Fortress is a great game, or Counter-Strike is a great game, or, whatever, like, you name it. Like, you can always come back and just jump into a match and feel comfortable and have fun, That I do appreciate that about this specific game, that it's always there if you want to just, have some really lighthearted fun for 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't feel like very oppressive. Like, the skill cap doesn't seem that high to me. You can just pop in, and like the stakes are really low. I mean, the matches, at least for that turf war that you were talking about, where it's kind of a surface area based calculation of who wins based on coverage of the ground and your ink. But the stakes are low in that there's 3-minute matches, and then the matchmaking just keeps rolling, and you keep going into it. The ranked play is a little different. It's, I think, 5 minutes, and then you just kind of like contest the objective for 5 minutes, and either you complete the objective and you get like this knockout bonus thing, or it kind of tracks how far you've pushed a given objective, and then the winner's decided that way rather than that surface area coverage. But I think the game is hard to get really like worked up about. It's just like, oh dang, that guy got me, whatever, this and that. It's like you said, it's a fun, lighthearted game. So I'm happy to have got the Switch for Zelda, and now this. I feel I've gotten the value out of it. I'm still playing Splatoon. I've been doing a little bit of ranked. Got up to A- in ranked, and then there's A, regular A plus, and then S and S plus after. So I'm getting up there a bit. What else is there to talk about in this game? I got up to a 75% win rate in the turf war, and that was pretty dope.
What's your weapon of choice and why?
There's one called the Splattershot Pro, which has a good amount of poke to it. It's got some length, so that one's good for just contesting objectives. And as I've been playing ranked, I haven't been going for coverage as much. It's interesting, this game, the specials are changed up completely from the first game. None of them are the same. They've all been tweaked a bit. And there are some fun ones in there, like the Tenta-Tech missiles. You strap on like rocket launchers, and they just shoots up these missiles in the air, and they come crashing down.
I could have sworn that was in that special was in the first game.
I think it was, but you had to target it on the map like an artillery strike rather than
right. That does ring a bell.
It switched your view a little bit. This one you just target from that third-person view.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd like to see it. The skill tree that you're talking about is kind of incorporated in the gear that you get. There's like certain bubbles on the gear that have different perks, and you can combine those in a number of ways to like maximize your sort of gear budget. But yeah, I'm a sucker myself for kind of skill trees and paths like that. But the gear is, you could buy it through the app, and there's a couple different ways to acquire the gear and upgrade it. But all in all, I'd say, I wouldn't suggest purchasing a Switch for this game, but if you had one, I would 100% recommend it. So that's where I sit on this game. It's fun. I wish there was more loadout options where you can like take this weapon and this special and this grenade ability, but you're kind of like stuck with the stock loadouts that a given weapon has. So again,
yeah, you're kind of hamstrung. Like with a specific weapon will most often have a specific like grenade ability and special ability tied to it, right?
Yeah, so it's like a kit you're stuck with. You can't like tweak that. So it's in this, in today's like how much customization and levels of customization there are and loadouts and settings and everything, I think that would, I don't know, I would think that'd be kind of standard, but Nintendo, they don't really, they must have some idea of balance surrounding the combinations of specials and grenades and primary weapons.
Yeah, they must.
But yeah, so would you agree with the fact that you wouldn't buy this console just for this, or what's your rating of the game? Just thumbs up.
I mean, I think it's like a 7.5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely worth your time and attention. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of I was gonna say there's a lot of meat on this bone, but that's not the right way to say it. There's just there's a large pool of fun to swim in this game.
I see what you did there.
Or ink. Yeah, I guess I wasn't even like you can get a lot of delightful time out of this game if you have the Switch, and I would highly recommend it as your number 2 purchase. And we'll have some. I'm very eagerly awaiting the Mario game because I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's supposed to be very weird.
Yeah.
There's no game over screen ever, which is different.
That's refreshing. That's like no red pen in schools.
It's kind of like yeah, exactly. So it's I'm excited for where the Switch is headed. I'm gonna keep trying to buy games on there. My daughter is loving the Switch too right now. Like probably a couple times a day, she's like, "Dad, can I play Zelda?" And then she just walks around the world and makes up stories, and then nearly erased my save. I
was gonna touch on that. I heard you had a tragic horse deletion story.
Yeah, poor Slate. We barely knew this beautiful gray and white horse that had 4 power. I was like one of the fastest horse you could find, and Juju just deleted it. It was like, okay.
Well, maybe
she's kind of word.
Maybe she released it back into the wild.
I'm pretty sure she murdered the horse. So, but yeah, she's essentially like the Khaleesi of my horse game in Breath of the Wild. So yeah, what else we got on the docket here? Splatoon, fun game. If you have a Switch or you're thinking about purchasing one, definitely pick it up. It's a lot of fun.
One more question before we depart from Splatoon is ketchup or mayonnaise?
Ooh, yeah, I haven't delved into it this weekend because I've been so busy. But I mean, I'm never going to put ketchup. There's been this thing kind of floating around the internet where people are like, I'm a picky eater, this is what I won't eat, some stupid meme like that. And I look at the list, I'm like, everything on here is okay except ketchup. Like, I rarely, unless it's like a homemade ketchup or a baking ketchup or a smoked ketchup, I'm never touching like your Heinz ketchup.
Yeah.
Whereas mayo has loads of applications.
Right.
It's just
what
egg.
I thought,
It's
too.
just egg and oil. Like, it's so good.
All right, that answers my question.
Yeah.
And for the listeners who aren't familiar with Splatoon, there's I don't know how often it is. It's called Splatfest. They pit 2 different things against each other, and then you have like a thing on the weekend, like an event. So this was ketchup versus mayonnaise. I picked mayonnaise, and then you go to duel, and your ink is in the respective color of the camp you sided with. So I had like off-white ink versus the red of ketchup. So
And
anyways,
then you see who wins at the end. I should try that a little bit tonight and at least dive in. We'll see. So yeah, but it's fun to have little events like that, and it's good to see them engaging with the community.
yeah, it's a nice like thing to keep everyone engaged, and then like blue versus white dress or whatever sort of thing. But let's touch on Zelda real quick before we move on to other games. What's your progress?
Three episodes on Zelda.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
The meat on this game.
Okay,
is
so
deep.
so real quickly, I know you want to talk about your progression. Mine has been mostly through the eyes of my daughter. I have 3 divine beasts down. There's 4 for anybody that's interested. And then at a certain point, you can go and beat Ganon. I did follow the quest to find the Master Sword, and I now am one with my divine sword again.
Sorry.
Let's see. Just picking up random shrines, and I've really been enjoying when I'm sitting there with my daughter, if she has it out or if she asks to play it when I'm off of work or something for 15 minutes, just wandering around the map with her, and finding little fun artifacts and little engagements. I think the game's really well suited to just enjoying the world and then coming back to the quests when you feel like it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's pretty sprawling, and you have differences in terrains and like enemies and stuff you'll find, and there's a lot. There's a lot of intrigue in there. So, what are you thinking about your timeline on beating this game? Do you think within the next month, maybe?
I have no idea, to be honest. I want to learn more about this DLC pack that they have. I know that there's one out right now that increases the strength of your Master Sword by doing shrines in succession.
Huh.
And there's a new one coming out that is somehow related to the 4 champions that pilot the Divine Beasts. And I'd like to learn more about what that is. I think there's a lot of extra things that are available for people that just like Zeldas. For maybe the first time in Zelda's history, you can get like these DLC packs that give you a little bit more things to do in the world or other ways to look at it. And I think that's really interesting. But honestly, I'm in no rush to beat the game. I know that I'm pretty close based on what I've heard from you, and I am just enjoying living in the world a little bit and not rushing to beat Ganon. So, how about you?
I beat it, I think it was last week, so I front-loaded a lot of my time in this game, like we talked about before, just kind of like grinding out shrines, grinding out the watchtowers and stuff like that. And then Chris was here, and he was watching me play, and I was going to finish one of the memories. It's like this camera thing. We have to revisit the spot based on a picture that was captured 100 years ago when you were, you still were alive back then. But anyways, so you have to like revisit
Spoilers.
Nah, it's fine. It's been out for 5 months now. We're just really slow gamers. So I was going to this spot, and he's watching me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to the spot that I saw on the camera." And he's like, "You just ran past the stable." And I'm like, "Yeah, so what?" He's like, "You don't have a horse?" I said, "No, I didn't know you could do that." So then a lot of antics ensued. I tried parachuting down on top of a horse and like landing on it that way to tame it or whatever, and then one of those octo things shot a frickin' rock at me as I was going to land on it, so foiled my plan there. But
So you beat it.
Yeah, I beat it. I without
and
a horse.
You promptly deleted it from your inventory.
Well, pretty much. I find that with a lot of these open world games, I get caught up in bolstering my character, my gear, my talents, experience levels, whatever it may be, and then I get to this exhaustion or fatigue point, and I'm like, well, I don't know what the heck I'm doing in terms of the main quest anymore. I'm just gonna go grind this out now. So I get this one track mind where I'm like, I gotta finish this game now. I put too much time in the peripheral and gotta get through it. So finished off the next two, or actually it was three, and then went to Ganon. But I think my favorite of the Divine Beast so far was a camel, and so that was a good time. Have you beat that one yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I thought it really cool mechanic. My favorite was my first one, the elephant.
The
I
elephant
really like that.
Is the Zora people.
It's the Zora one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really cool mechanics in how you manage like the beast, you know, in that one. So
I like the amount of like the physicality of the puzzles and like kind of like you're saying manipulating the beast itself to solve puzzles, but also like there are these little roadblocks that you got to figure out that manipulating the beast and is not going to solve. Like you got to kind of put two and two together. So I like the
you kind of feel like in the Divine Beast when you're moving them around and you're moving the pieces around, you kind of feel like the rat from Ratatouille, kind of like pulling on the hair of the chef, and moving it around, like that. You're part of this bigger picture, trying to make these little achievements happen, but you're just the little alien on the inside of the human being, you know, like making everything move around. I think it's a really cool concept, and it makes it affects how you perceive your size in the game. You feel much smaller than, and not just with the Divine Beast, but in the whole world, you feel much smaller than any other Zelda game. So yeah, I'll probably beat it by Christmas. I would say.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
And otherwise just enjoy it. So
I going back to your point about the size, I was feeling some of those Shadow of the Colossus vibes in the game when I was brushing back through it this past week. And the game as a whole is just, it's a great game. Being in those Divine Beasts, I think I was kind of likening it to an escape room actually in a way, just kind of navigating through the internal, inside of the beast. It's like a confined space that you're trying to figure out. So the game is great though. I'm happy to be done with it and on to other games. So
we probably won't talk about Zelda for a while until I've beaten it or experienced this DLC. So we can brush Zelda under the rug for right now. It's great. Everyone should get it. It might be worth buying a Switch.
Getting rid of the game out of my library, like you were touching on, I found out that Amazon now has a trade-in program. So I went through that process and ended up with, I think it was like $36.50 to return Breath of the Wild. So what they do is send you a prepaid shipping label and you just pack it up and off it goes. But I thought that was pretty nifty. You get credit instantly in the form of Amazon gift card. So that's a new thing you guys could check out rather than giving them over to GameStop if you're against that sort of thing.
If anybody's still buying physical copies of console games out there.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I've kind of realized that I was kicking myself about is I got Splatoon physically and Breath of the Wild physically, so that was another incentive for me to finish Breath of the Wild quicker so I didn't have to switch between the two cartridges. So I'll be buying digital from here on out, I believe.
I hope so. There's such an elegance to it, and you can always go back to it. It feels real good. I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing, though, is like to really reap the rewards most likely of this Amazon trade-in. I mean, we're talking about one of the most acclaimed games. Switches are coming back in stock. People are looking for used copies. Your $36 is probably pretty high up there as far as value goes on that list. I would be interested to see what they're marking some other console games at, like Horizon First Dawn or something like that, where...
Yeah, I would look into it. You can do like a batch return and everything, so you can bundle up a bunch of old games and put them all in one shipment. So just something to check out if you guys have some dusty old physical copies lying around.
Mm-hmm. I have loads of old 3DS games that I can't bear to part with some of them, like my Professor Layton collection, my Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask on 3DS. I just can't say goodbye.
Well, you're going to have to do it eventually, son.
I will. I will. All right, let's talk about other games.
Yeah, let's do it. Off this Nintendo train, damn it.
Yeah.
So what else?
There's only like so many people that are actually participating in our group, at least on the Nintendo train. It is good to see some more people bought into the Switch ecosystem, though.
Yeah. So, but anyways, it's not about them; it's about us.
Right.
No.
Right.
So what else have you been playing? You were trying to get us all into a new game called
Gigantic. Okay,
Yes.
so this game. So I feel like in some ways I had a lot of deja vu to when I first played Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm like, oh my god, there's a game here. Like there's a game here that we've completely written off and ignored as a group. And I felt that same way when I was like 5 hours into Gigantic. Gigantic is made. I don't know. What's it like? The launcher is Arc. Is it? I forget. I'm going to have a look now. But so Gigantic is this essentially a third-person MOBA like Smite, for example, a wildly popular game. And it has really highly stylized characters. They feel very good. You have your MOBA situation of QWE, or let's see, what is it? It's actually just because you're using WASD to move around. And then you have your Q as an ability and E as an ability. Your left click is an ability. It's basically an auto attack. And then your right click is also an ability. And then your F is your ultimate. So super beautiful game. The game looks like an alternate dimension of Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
Nintendo.
Yeah, but I mean, we remember Wind Waker. When people think about it, it was obviously the world was pretty incredible, a new take on Zelda, but there's this incredible art style that deterred from what we knew Zelda to be. And so it stands out in people's minds. When people think of Wind Waker, they have an art style in mind. Exaggerated characters and features on characters. Mm-hmm. Beautiful sort of flowing watercolor kind of Okami-esque kind of situation where it looks like a painting if you were to hold still. The animation on these characters that you're playing is absolutely astounding. The game itself, I think, is a little confusing at first. You each have this big, gigantic beast that is behind you, and you're representing it. You're its champion. The idea being that you want to take... They're essentially like the Nexus that you want to take down. They have 3 sort of thresholds in their giant health bar that are called like wounds that they would take. So the way that you get these wounds down is you're filling up like sort of a 10-bar gauge to weaken the enemy champion. You do that by killing enemies, which grants you 10 points out of 100. You can also collect power orbs, which are areas of control on the map. And you can spawn creatures there to protect these orbs, and based on refresh time, you can go there and collect these orbs. So there's a really big incentive outside of just not being a participant in battles. There's a really big incentive to not die, and also a huge incentive to get kills, because that pushes you closer to victory in draining your enemy's health bar. I think the game is really cool. For $30, it's absolutely free to play. You have a free to play rotation. I think everyone should check it out because I think there's a lot of spicy fights in there. There's a lot of learning to be had, like any other MOBA, about what characters do. Really cool skill selection as you go through. Basically, you get 2 selections on each of your abilities. for a total of 10, and they're very simple decisions to make. Unlike Heroes of the Storm, where if you come up new, it might be hard to kind of like see how which tree is optimized, and oftentimes you have 4 different choices. Here, there's only ever 2 choices, and then 2 choices stem off that choice, and then you're done upgrading that ability. So it's and you can also just have them auto-select an ability choice for you.
Yeah, so
the game's good.
Yeah, the choices, though, I guess I didn't really notice this because I was immersed and not trying to die. But I didn't notice that. So you're saying the choices are kind of like binary, like a fork in the road for your talents, and then that's it?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for example, the one guy that I really enjoy playing is kind of this tank. He's called the Margrave. And for his left click, which is his auto attack, you have 2 choices if you were to upgrade it at first. One would be to when your 4th hit lands, because he does this kind of 4-hit combo, it crits. The other one is your attacks don't crit but move at a faster rate. And then once you select one of those, the next time that you go to upgrade it, it's going to have 2 choices stemming off that choice. So, for example, the one that I like to take is your 4th attack crits, and then I get to crit in a bigger area. So I go into team fights and I just start auto-attacking, and I try and get where they're grouping up, and then that's it for that ability. And then I can go, and so the complexity comes in, what are you leveling up first, and how are they tying together as you reach level 10? There is that Heroes of the Storm like group XP growth, and I'm not entirely sure that you can gain more XP at a higher rate than your enemy. I think it might be a static thing. I need to look into it. It seems to be kind of the trend with this game, and then a game that we'll talk about called Fortnite, that to try and be more simplistic and just let people enjoy the game doesn't highlight and explain keywords very well. Like, what does poison do? Right. What does breaking? How much armor are you breaking? What does it mean? It's just like the higher number is better. I guess I poison more. But then people that actually know the game and what all the characters do know that one selection is probably going to be more advantageous in upgrading their abilities. So yeah, but it is super easy to play with your skill tree, and the games, I'd say the longest game I've been in has been half an hour. Oftentimes they're like 20 minutes. So it feels good. Combat feels real fun. Team fights feel cool. The only thing is that you run into that Smite kind of situation where somebody's really fast and they're running around you. So instead of you clicking on an overarching map and just clicking behind you, you actually need to rotate your whole character so you're spinning around like an FPS and flicking your wrists on your mouse pad. And so, aiming can be a little difficult, but I suppose that's kind of part of the skill when you're playing these third-person melee characters,
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I played just a little bit with Shaun the other day, and it actually was only $20 to do the thing for me. I don't know if it's
really?
that
Okay.
pack that you shared with me or something, but it was weird because it's saying you could buy this on Steam or you can buy it within the Arc ecosystem. So within Arc, it was $20 for buy it now. You have all the I don't know. What do they call them in this game? Is it heroes or what is it?
I think it is heroes.
Okay. So yeah, you just get all those from here on out. So you just own. You don't have to pay like the free-to-play currency to unlock them or whatever. But the thing I found about the game is feels good, like Shaun was harping on a little bit, is that you guys got to get in, you got to go through the tutorial, and you just got to just feel how the game feels. So I went through the tutorial and everything, and it does feel good to move around and navigate through the world. The thing I have a problem with is just the time to kill felt a little frustrating. I don't know if they're going to maybe balance that out, but I was playing this guy, it's like a fox with a bow, or a wolf or goat wolf. I don't know what the heck he was. But you'd have to charge a shot, and so I'd be charging the shot, shooting from distance, and then I'd hit like this nice shot.
A la Widowmaker.
Yeah. So I was landing like 1, 2, 3 of them, and I couldn't kill anybody. So I was like, wait a second, if I'm having to charge this up and shoot, feels like I should be downing fools. But so little things felt off. The games themselves, maybe just coming from Splatoon, I'm feeling like they feel like an eternity in comparison. The 3-minute match versus, like we had like I think a 20-minute games when we played. So I'd like to see those pared down, both the time to kill and the overall time of the match, because it felt kind of just like beating your head against the wall at some point against like the various objectives, trying to get up to that 10. I think you explained it better in the 100% threshold, where like getting this objective pushes you over the edge or whatever, like by a 10th, or like I think if you get one of those power balls, it's like 40% or something like that. But
I think the power orbs are worth 20.
Oh, 20. So it just felt kind of like you were just trying to grind it up and get their gigantic thing down so you can go wound it. But no, art style's beautiful. Gameplay, moving through the world feels great. I have to try out some of the new characters. I only did, I think, 2 or 3 the other night. But no, it's good. I think this is one that, will take some time to get more people involved and then feel it out in that regard. So I think that always breathes new life into a game when we get a few cubbies in there. So
yeah, just checking it out. I think it's absolutely worth installing as a free-to-play game. It's only like 8 gigs or something ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I was surprised by that too. I was just expecting
it to be
super
easy download. Yeah, because there's not a whole lot of texturing, I suppose, in the game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of textures that don't need to be installed. But yeah, as a free-to-play game, I would absolutely recommend checking it out when you have a free night of gaming. You can pop in, play the tutorial, play a fast game, see what you think. But then, I would say really try and get into a game with some friends, because it can be really fun with friends, especially when you're communicating about like who to attack. That time to kill goes down when you're focusing fire, you're punishing healers, you're pushing them off of positions. Maybe you punish the healer and the carry, and then their tank's left over with no escape, and then everyone focuses him down, breaks his armor, and I think that the time to kill feels much more oriented towards team fights, and focus fire and things like that, which are things that are lacking when you're just kind of solo queuing.
Yeah, when you're random.
So, right, exactly.
But you heard me getting pretty hype about some of the shots I was making, so I was having fun. It's not.
It feels good. Like when you get a kill, that's the thing though, is because the kills matter so much to your overall progression towards the victory. When you are using all of your abilities in the right succession, and then you're chewing through their health and going through their heals, you feel a moment of elation that you are super freaking pumped. And Miles has heard me, and other people have probably heard me in the past week when I played, just been like, fuck yeah, like like yeah, eat shit, and like they don't know where it's coming from, but it feels really good to get the kills in this game because it is an effort. It's not just like dropping a few crits in LOL and being like, yeah, I'm doing my job and it feels real good. It's like kills feel really meaty in this game. And you really beat yourself up when you get killed.
Yeah,
so the game's gigantic, guys. It's free to play, super easy download, feels really fun. Watch a few YouTube videos on it too, and about your character that you are curious about, or about how to succeed, because there are a few systems in play that to get regular victories you need to understand with these power orbs and these creatures, and how to wound the enemy and things like that. But beyond that, if you just go in and have fun with it as a brawler too, and when just starting, and appreciate the art style, there's a lot of fun, and it should have more of a following. My understanding is that Gigantic actually was going to be nixed as a game. Like, the developers were taking too long on it. They couldn't make it work. they were, their studio got shut down, and maybe I'll talk about it next week, but it's my understanding that the developers just didn't give up, and they actually went to another studio to sell their game and say, like, look, we need help. We care about this game enough. We've got so much poured into this game, so much blood, sweat, and tears, that we just want to see it out there. And some other developer picked it up to publish it, and without it, they would not this would not have seen the light of day.
It's like a phoenix out of the ashes right there.
Yeah, I think that the game was maybe announced like 3 years ago with a lot of the art already done. And so I think it released last year. And I think that we're kind of seeing a Rainbow Six Siege situation with it, where it's having a little bit of a resurgence as things stabilize and people are checking it out, And the game has had time to balance itself out as far as what is the progression system, what are the bugs, what is the balancing in the game. I think that it's in a pretty good spot right now. The new hero that they released is this like kind of thug that wields a poison scimitar on a rope or something. He feels kind of underpowered, a little weak because he doesn't have that much mobility. But I think that the potential for heroes in this game is super cool because they apparently like don't give a shit about character design and how it relates to each other. Like you have like this hunched over grandma with like an eye in a hand on a stick. Oh yeah,
she's super icky.
She's creepy. You have this fox goat kind of what are they called? Satyrs? This is like a satyr.
Oh yeah, that's
and then you have what is Paku? He's like this giant big smiling fart snowball. I don't understand really what he is. He looks like a Beanie Baby that could consume like 10 gallons of beans. I don't really know. So it's really weird. I'm gonna make Miles cough a lot because he's sick, but he's this Paco guy just kind of creeps me out. But I think there's a little bit of like flavor in there for whatever your play style is and what character speaks to you. So gigantic. Check it out. Download it. Let us know. Come play with us sometime.
Yes.
What have you been playing since it's been like 2 weeks or something, right? Since our last recording.
Yeah, just polish off the games I was talking about, dive into Splatoon. A little bit more Siege, actually, coming back into that. People are wanting to get back into a taste of that, so we've been revisiting that a bit.
It's been fun.
Yeah. We've been doing fairly well. Outside of that, it's, the usual PUBG. They released a first-person... What?
PUBG.
No, it's PUBG.
No.
Okay.
I think pretty much everyone calls it PUBG.
But I'm not everyone, and I don't pronounce things correctly. You know this.
I know this, but I want to educate our listener. Yeah.
All right. Well,
he's talking about PUBG. I'll be your translator.
Okay, good thing. And then I was in the Gerudo village.
Just
dead air.
Trying to dead air. Holy shit!
Oh my god! Got it. So
anyways, yeah, PUBG, first person, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we just did one round of that the other night, and it seemed kind of weird. We were in duo, and then we killed one of their guys, and then I went to finish out the second one, and he's just sitting there behind a tree. So I was like, "What the heck is wrong with that guy?" He's just so dumbfounded that his friend got shot. But the thing that was weird, too, is when we shot him, he got down immediately without, being down but not out. So then later, Ryan got killed, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, game over, better luck next time on my screen. I was like, oh, well, I guess one of you gets out.
Which is different than how the third player is, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a glitch. I haven't revisited it since, but...
I do wonder if it's a bug. I want to look into that. When I played duos, actually, with, I think it might have been a bug. Because I played duos last night with Adam, and we died, and I didn't see that happen.
In first person?
So, yeah.
And was it insta-kill, or was it down but not out still?
I think it was down but not out.
Okay. So, yeah, it might have just been a glitch in the game. Did you see...
We'll need to test it out.
Did you see Adam's name in the upper left when you were playing?
I don't know.
Huh.
I wasn't really paying that much attention to that, but
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few things like...
yeah. No, I did. I remember that because we had gotten injured by something.
Oh, okay, so Ryan and I had a glitch then, because we're going to have to revisit this. Because Ryan and I, we got in, we couldn't see each other on the map. I almost killed him a few times, because you see someone running around, and your instant reaction is, I got to kill that person. So we just had a glitchy round. That's weird.
It is weird.
But what do you feel about first person?
I like it a lot. I think there's a place for both it and third person. I like both of them. I think I do favor first person mode in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds because I don't know, it feels like you're more in the... I like that feeling of theme in the game and sometimes, and the ambience, rather than like trying to maximize it and being like a death wielder, you know. I like feeling like I am that character in this world, trying to survive and loot and get to the next place. And I think first person mode helps accentuate that. I think they're both challenging in their own rights, and I think they both have a place in the PUBG world. I think that it would be fun to play both first person one night and then third person later on in the evening. I think it works well.
Do you think that players will pick between the two, or do you think they'll go like they'll play both interchangeably?
I think there'll be two different crowds that want to play both, or that want to play either or are familiar with both and want to play. But I think that people will gravitate towards what they feel that they're strongest in. Mm-hmm. And then I think that pros will favor one of them over the other as people start looking at how to optimize this weird game, you know, and how to be the best at it. As we start seeing competitive play come out on ESL, and, you know, it's kind of a weird thing as is, but as we see competitive play get a little bit more heavy, I think more people will be like, this first person mode is fair and more balanced because of this, and then third person is actually the true play style because of this, you know, like so I think that we'll see different arguments, but I like that they both can exist in the same box. You know?
It's definitely interesting. I would like to see the numbers and see if there's been any sort of spike in the population of players, to see if the release of first person has brought on all new players like that had not previously considered playing this game. So I'm gonna have to reference that and kind of report back on that in a later week.
Seeing as it sold like 5 million copies and most people are playing it anyway, I don't think we're seeing like a huge draw of people come out. They're just like, oh yes, it has first person. I think enough people that were curious about the game are already in it. Like, I think this is just a little bit of flavor and a little bit of new fresh play style to be made available to the player base.
I find it to be a lot more claustrophobic, and I kind of like that.
The first person mode?
Yeah, because in third person, I feel like, depending on the circle draws, third person could be a lot more defensible. You just kind of prone up, sit in a building, do whatever, use that third person viewpoint to maintain, your visual coverage while not exposing your character at all. So I think this first person is going to open up a different sort of gameplay where, to get the vision, you are going to have to expose yourself, wink. And so that's just a different element that comes to the table. Other thoughts are that looting is better, I think, in first person. It's just like a quick, dude, open this door, nothing's in there. Dude, open this door, nothing's in there. So or you can see really quickly what's on the ground. I mean, I know we've already become accustomed to kind of identifying what items are what, but it's even easier now.
I think my thought on that is I don't agree. I think that third person was much better for going in and looking behind doors where sometimes guns or armor will be lying. In first person, you need to like really commit to a room to actually like look behind doors, go to little areas rather than swinging the camera around in one position. I think that looting overall in the game has gotten a lot better in this past patch. Looting feels smoother once you get into the game. There's some like still load issues, but I don't know. That's just my thought. Like, I think that you're right that the loot on the ground is closer to your area of vision, but the angle of vision favors third person looting.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not thinking of any rooms off the top of my head where that would require sort of panning the camera around from a third-person view. I just kind of
Well, for example, it's hard for me to say it, but like if you go upstairs in a lot of the houses, you'll go up the stairs. There'll be a door for you to exit right in front on the top door, and you take a right. You can see the stairwell, and then you see two doors on left or right. In the right room, you go in, you take a look, and then there's a little closet.
Okay,
on that
I
side,
know exactly what layout you're talking about.
And you swing the camera around, and you can see what's in the closet. Whereas in first person, you need to open the door, enter, look around that corner, and come back. I mean, I'm fine with it. Overall, I don't think like there's one's better than the other because every player's on the same playing field. You know, everybody's got to make the same commitment about how fast they want to loot this house and how deep they want to go into like these little crevices in the home to find loot. But just on a pure efficiency standpoint, I think third person looting is better. First person feels challenging.
I think the other thing about
and exciting,
yeah. I feel like very like scared all the time. Ryan would be, we were running through town to town or whatever, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go in this building, you want to take the one on the left? And I would just be like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna hang out here and keep watch, because it feels so claustrophobic, and even if I didn't have optimal loot, I was just like settling for keeping an eye on the place. So the models of weapons could use a little work, I think. In first person it becomes a little more evident, I think. So I'm like, oh, coming from Rainbow Six Siege, it's a different sort of game, but that's one thing I noticed immediately. It's just like he's a little rough around the edges.
I agree.
But
what else do we want to? I don't know. What are we at? We're at like 50 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Fortnite.
Before that, I just have to brag.
I want to talk about Fortnite though.
No,
like I want. Yeah.
That's fine. I'm just really quickly. I'm at 100% win rate in duo since the stats reset, so that's pretty cool.
Which means you're no longer playing the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I put a video up so you could see my last game in action before retirement. So
nice. All right, cool. You want to chat about anything else, or are we calling this a night?
Did you want to dive into Fortnite or?
No, not tonight.
All right.
50 minutes. I think Fortnite deserves a good half hour to talk about exactly what's going on there, because there's a lot of weird things that are going. The game feels. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much. The game feels super polished, but the whole pricing system, what the game is and what stage it's at, feels really weird. And also the UI is a steaming pile of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we should probably save that for the next podcast. I'll let you lead us out here.
Alrighty, sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for coming back and listening. We finally hit, 10 episodes over the course of 2 years, I think it's been. So, we're a little slow, but we're getting there. We're chugging along. It's a grind. It's not daily, though, or weekly for that matter. So thanks for tuning in. Comment, let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to touch on, any games that you think deserve our interest, just anything. Come to check out our YouTube stuff.
Where can we be found, too?
Yeah, so YouTube is GamerDen. The website is gamerden.net. There's some projects going on there right now. Rory's working on a fantasy sports thing. I have a lot of backlogged puzzle or escape rooms that I'm trying to do write-ups on and just other stuff. So come check it out. Yeah, just listen to either of the Daily Grind or GamerDen Sports Network if you're trying to get some fantasy sports advice. So it's all there.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, catch you later.
Bye.